What about, and I'm going to move on into, I'm pulling this other guy into this conversation because he's a guy that I had ranked low. You think, like, after the rankings were in, Dave went, maybe I have this guy ranked too high.
Yeah.
Is a guy like Carlisle? Like, I had Carlisle at 8. Sean had him at 6. You had him at 5. Am I being too hard on Carlisle because I look at it and go, yeah, you're doing the most with what you got, but it's one of those things where it's like, what? But besides that championship you won over LeBron so long ago, what have you done for me lately? Like, with
so
me, a lot
ago.
of these rankings
How
is
many
what
years?
have you done? I went 2 years mostly back.
Okay.
Because to me, coming into this season,
Conveniently 2 years.
well, it's because most of the coaches, like Steve Kerr, I couldn't go back more than
I know.
2.
I understand.
Unless I wanted to take in the Lamar Jackson Warriors.
Well,
But
you
for-
could say Lamar Jackson set the stage.
But for a guy like Carlisle, a guy like Pop, a guy like Doc Rivers, you can go back.
And that's the case that I make. That's what I see. Is I see where Rick Carlisle has been a staple in that city, and he has done so much with so little. They've never hit on that big guy to help Dirk. It's always been, what can we build around Dirk? And he finds these weird guys who are usually just like role players, and he somehow puts together a team
Like J.J.
that's
Barea.
competitive every year. And I'll be damned. I don't know how he does it, because I look at that team every year and I go, that's a shit team, and it's Dirk. Like, yeah, Dirk will carry them to some wins, but there's no way they should be competing for playoffs. And they do. And that's why I give him that benefit, because you don't see that out of every head coach. Not every coach can just take random leftovers and put together a playoff team.
Well, and the one thing this is me looking at my own personal rankings because I'm trying to figure out, okay, Dave's talking to me, do I have Carlisle too low? But I look at everybody I have above him.
Look, none of these are locked in like 100%. There's a case we made for every one of these guys.
But in my mind, like, Kerr and Pop are definitely 1, 2.
Yeah.
Like, for me, an interesting coach, I mean, this could even bridge us into our top 5 a little bit. I know it's going to be his first year with this team, but I watched him for years, and he's a fucking phenomenal coach. Coach Thibodeau has to be in your top 5, I believe. He's a great coach. Like,
I think it's a little bit of homerism because we are Bulls fans.
Let's be honest. If Derrick Rose didn't get injured, that Bulls team could have fought for a championship.
Oh, yeah.
Let's be totally honest. If Derrick Rose doesn't bust his knee,
no, I
that
don't
Bulls
disagree.
team, like, Thibodeau could be hoisting the Larry O'Brien trophy. That could have happened. And I mean, with me, I am higher on Walton and Donovan for being like, I just think
you give them like, I think it's interesting how you give them so much credit for what wasn't theirs, and meanwhile you take away so much from other guys who are accomplished in the past. You're all about the hope and the upside, and I believe you, but I'm more about the what have you done for me overall.
And that's another thing for me going into, and this is why I've had this argument with some of the other rankings, and I've been shot down just because with players it's different.
Yeah.
But I think with coaches, it's the most of what are you going to do this year?
Yeah.
And you can kind of say, take out like what you've done in the. I don't
agree with that at all.
I don't care that you won a title 10 years ago.
Wow.
Because it was a different year.
Well, that's like
that's
I know we
exaggeration.
moved on from our boy, but the one case I think makes your argument is like Doc Rivers. He had to leave Boston.
Yeah.
He no longer was effective as a head coach there. His message didn't carry weight, even though he won a championship and he kept them competitive.
And I'm not knocking him for leaving.
Right, no, but I'm
just saying
like,
I can't go back to that team for what this is.
He's no longer the guy for the team. And now you've got guys like Pop and like Spoelstra, who we had at 3, who have been, those are the 2 longest tenured coaches in the league.
Even Coach Spo.
Yeah, I love Spo. The man got no credit for what he did, and then it's like we're watching him continue the success without the big 3, and he's just pulling in guys and making things work and making matchups play to his advantage. And, you know, Pat Riley's behind there like evil genius style. Yeah. I know, but Spoelstra's the one on the floor calling his shots, and it's coming up Spoelstra.
And let's be honest, the big reason why Carlisle is a little lower on mine is the Walton Donovan thing. If I take Walton and Donovan outside my top 10, Spoelstra's at the 4 spot, Stevens is at the 5, and then Carlisle's 6.
Yeah, I mean it truly is interesting. But Thibodeau has the chance, man. I know he had the chance in Chicago. Things didn't work out with his players. He comes into a loaded team, loaded with talent, loaded with youth,
a team he's got history with.
How is he going to ruin their knees?
I see.
whose career is he going to
They're
break?
young enough. I mean, KG's not on the team, so
Yeah,
we don't have to worry
KG
about
smartly
that.
was
maybe Ricky Rubio, because he's kind of the grandpa of the team. I think he's the oldest now,
Yeah.
right? I believe that. I am really high on the T-Wolves, and I am drinking that Kool-Aid. But
no, I think I mean even Sean had him at 5, so we all respect him. Look, what he's done has proved this is my plan. This is gonna work. This is gonna get us to the playoffs and make us a competitive team. It is absolutely relentless defense and the attempt at efficiency on offense. I say the attempt of efficiency because Derrick Rose was like one of the least efficient point guards we've ever seen, but one of the most exciting players to watch.
he was a superstar.
It was.
And that's what it is.
So now you've got a team where you've got young talent who can absolutely blow the top off this place, but they need that conditioning to become a defensive team. They need that control. They need to play with less carefree, less of that rookie youth, like we're just going to go and we're going to run with this ball all day.
More direction.
More direction. Thank you.
Well, and the one coach I want to ask about, and I'm trying to find the comment, and the comment I can't find, but I'm going to give him a shout out because I know who it's from.
Yeah.
From Riley.
Yep.
And I can't remember what video it was on. He basically commented, his first comment was like, oh, well, if Stevens isn't in your top 3 for next year, you're crazy. Is there, I'm not going to say top 3. Is there a case for Stevens, like top 5? Because he's in our top 5. He's 4.
He's our 4 man.
And I had him at 7. The highest was Sean had him at 4.
He's done really good work in Boston, and I think that we give him due credit. And again, this is a guy who hasn't won a championship. We think he's got a very good shot too. He's made a lot of smart roster lineup changes to balance this team out because they do have a lot of deficiencies with some of their players are they excel so much in one area, but completely useless in others. So he balances that lineup really well and plays matchups smart. And I think that this is a team that finally, they've put together a lot of pieces. I still think they made some incorrect moves, or they still need a couple more moves to put them into a championship picture. But he is going to make this team work. Period. Like he knows how the game works. He knows how players work, and he is a player's coach.
If there are 2 coaches for this year that were like Billy Donovan did it later than Stevens, that were college coaches that I was like, they could make the move into the pro game. Stevens and Billy Donovan were those 2. And
they both earlier success.
I kind of want to not hold it against him when you say, well, he hasn't won a championship, because in 3 seasons, did you expect him to turn around Boston into a championship team?
Maybe I did.
Did you?
No.
No, I'm asking you for real. Like, did you expect them? Like,
I think one of the hardest things was letting Rondo go. And that kind of changed this whole franchise for him. Because
and then Carlisle got him.
Yeah, well, obviously he didn't want to play for Carlisle, who pretty much told him, fuck you, I quit during the playoffs, and walked out of town, came back. Now he's one of my favorite Bulls. But
hey, he's going to make us a good team, right?
No,
we're going to be playoffs.
This Boston team, you use the adage, why fish? Why take a fishing rod out when you can use a net? They just went wide scale. They tried to grab as many talented guys as they could, and it led to the emergence of Isaiah Thomas on this team. Avery Bradley, huge, absolutely huge, and they've got that mixed amount of bigs who are all good but not great. And thankfully, they went out and got Horford this past offseason. So, look, they're moving in the right direction. I think the one move we all question is Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
In the draft, and then the other
What's
draft
he gonna
picks.
turn into?
It wasn't just Jaylen Brown. It was all the draft picks they had that didn't turn into. Here's our goal. Here's our way we're going to win a championship. Why aren't we moving these pieces for established vets? Why aren't we making that change? Like we saw Indiana do that. And now they've got a team loaded with veterans to support Paul George that looks like they can compete for the East.
And McMillan had their head coach 22 on our rankings, just throwing it out there.
Meanwhile, you've got this Boston team who seems to be in no rush to go for a championship because they're just, let's get 7 guys in the draft. We'll put them all, a development league, overseas, bench, whatever it takes, and we'll just kind of, we'll wash it through. We'll see what comes up to the top. So, I don't know. I really do have a lot of faith in Stevens. I think he's done a great job with what he's got, but I think that he's probably going to be disappointed because they're not going to get a ring this year, next year.